some people make a living out of caddying, you know what I mean? It's very difficult, you know, if you don't have expenses in your current lifestyle, you know, you can do it. But if you're getting into the golf business, it's a different animal than it used to be.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
I started out as a youngster traveling the world with my brother, playing competitive golf as juniors, and we both went on to play collegiately. And, you know, both played professionally after that. So we knew the game at a high level. And, you know, as I went through life, my brother played and realized he could make more money caddying than he could make 8-footers all day long. But that's really how we got into it. I didn't start caddying until late in life, when I had met Jason Kokrak at Trumbull when I was the pro there. Got to know him and went out on tour with him. But I knew him as a person, you know, and that's important as a caddy. A lot of guys out there, are, you know, this day and age are good players, ex-professionals. You know, it's all changed from what it used to be. It used to be where there were just, you know, carnies coming through and carrying the bag, shut up. You know, now they're part of the team, basically, is what it's come to. You know, all the guys out there have a team. You know, they got a fitness guy, they got a psychological person, they got an agent. I mean, they got everything, full team. And their caddy is the key out on the golf course. Knowing the game, number one, as a caddy, knowing the swing, it's vital to the player. And that's really why I was a value to him, because I knew him as a person. I knew how he was going to react. You know, he got in certain positions, and you know that's important, as well as knowing the game and, you know, knowing how to get it done. The best thing is to be the most prepared caddy out there, and that requires a lot of work prior to when the first round starts on Thursday. You know, you arrive at the site Sunday night, Monday morning, and you're mapping the whole golf course. You have the past history of current pin positions that they've used in the past. You roll balls out there to get the green, you know, the contours of the greens, and mark them in your yardage books. You got to be marking run out areas, you know, hazard areas, everything that you would would affect you if you were playing, you know, so that you can advise. But being prepared is the biggest thing. It's a lot of, you know, work prior is what I'll say. You know, once you get there, you know, you just make it happen, you know, but getting there is the biggest. All the work prior to that is the key. Yeah, typically I would get there on a Monday, and then, you know, you'd purchase a yardage book. You would go out and verify everything, mark where you're going to play the golf from. You know your player, you know how far he hits it, you know, this is our landing area, this is how we're playing this hole, and you have a plan, basically. So when you show up on Thursday, we got a plan. It's almost like putting a puzzle together. And that was the biggest, that took the most time prior to it. So most of my work was done Monday through Wednesday. And then come Thursday, you just let it happen. But there is a lot of work prior to Thursday, for sure. You never tell a player what to hit.
Yeah.
You only offer if they ask. And that's the first thing you learn, because you make the wrong call, you're done. But knowing your player, knowing his capabilities, but the hardest thing about that is when you get in the mix and in the thick of it and you're in the hunt, those players are jacked up. You know what I mean? They're above where their normal limits are. You know what I mean? You know, they'll hit some shots that are just outrageous that you're not expecting it, but you got to take that in consideration. You know, that happened a couple times to us where, you know, he hit some shots from 230 yards with an 8-iron, and I was like, oh my God, you know, nobody and their brother would dream about doing that right now. But when you're in the thick of the moment, and that's what you got to consider. You know, the adrenaline and everything it's an important piece of the whole puzzle. It's best as a caddy to say less. You know, you never say what the negative is. You know, you don't want to say, don't hit it left here. You want to say, let's keep it right. You know what I mean? It's always a positive way of, you know, of conveying what you want them to do. Anytime negativity comes into it, you know, it affects anybody. And
there's a whole psychological component.
It is a big part of it. I mean, when you're at that level, it's all psychological. They all have the ability. It's just a matter of who can handle it the best. A lot of the traditional clubs don't have carts. You know, there's very few of those clubs out there. They're very iconic clubs. But now it's a business. You know, and the majority of the clubs now are owned by management companies, which have gone to a revenue-based. You know, that has kind of killed the caddy programs, junior programs, everything, because it's turned into such a business that it's not traditional like it used to be. Yeah, there are still some clubs that have a very active caddy program. The country club up in Pepper Pike has a fantastic caddy program. I was up there for a while and enjoyed it. But those kids all, and they have a caddy scholarship program as well. You know, and those are all, you know, young aspiring golfers that want to learn the game, and it was a great venue for them to do it. They can do quite well at it too, believe it or not. I would tell you that was, you know, to do that as a youngster, to learn the game. They made decent money doing it. You know what I mean? It was a great. You're not going to an office. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was a great way to learn the game. Some people make a living out of caddying. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. You know, if you don't have expenses in your current lifestyle, you know, you can do it. But if you're getting into the golf business, it's a different animal than it used to be. Because like I said, it's more commercialized than it has been in the past. Most clubs were owned by members, operated by the board, and they made their own decisions.
Yeah.
Now the majority of them are management companies. So it's more of a business now, and if you're going to get into business, you better have a strong business background.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Right.
You know, it's only important to understand the game, be able to play, be able to teach, but the business side of it is vital to be able to survive as a golf professional this day and age.
BusinessJournalDaily.com. 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.